Welcome back, everyone. Today we're setting off on a deep dive into some really fascinating sections of the Quran, Juz 15 to be exact. And, for anyone just joining us, we're talking about a specific portion within the Quran, kind of like a chapter
Oh,
division.
the speaker.
Expert speaker. Yeah, exactly. And within this, we're focusing on two really powerful surahs, Al-Isra and Al-Kahf. They offer so much guidance, so much to unpack in terms of faith, everyday life, even the human condition as a whole. Host speaker, it's like stepping into this whole other world, wouldn't you say? And we get to start with something truly captivating, the Prophet Muhammad's PBUH night journey, right there in sort of Isra, expert speaker. It's such a powerful opening, right? This journey from the sacred mosque in Mecca to Al-Masjid al-Aqsa in Jerusalem, it's considered this incredible testament to God's power, a sign beyond our human comprehension. Host speaker. And that idea of signs, it really carries through the entire surah, doesn't it? It's like we move from this intensely personal experience of the Prophet, PBUH, to a much broader reflection on history, on the children of Israel, and their own encounters with these divine signs.
Expert speaker. That's a really interesting observation. The surah does delve into this cyclical nature of their story, how they would stray from righteousness, face punishment, but ultimately find their way back to God's mercy. Host speaker. And that cycle, right? It's not just some ancient history lesson, is it? It feels so universal, this reminder that our actions have consequences, but forgiveness is always possible.
Expert speaker. Exactly. It really emphasizes individual accountability, a theme that's central to these verses, especially verses 13 through 15 of Surah Al-Isra. Host speaker. Oh, absolutely. Those verses are so striking. The way they talk about each person bearing their own burden, no one carrying the weight of another. It's a powerful statement about our choices, our free will. Expert speaker. And not just about the burden, right? But also the agency it gives us. Like we have the power to shape our own destiny through the choices we make. Host speaker. Now that's a powerful way to look at it. It becomes this call to action then, to make choices that align with righteousness. And speaking of which, Surah Al-Isra is very clear at what those righteous actions look like. Expert speaker.
Well, absolutely. Honoring one's parents, offering help to those in need, being truthful in our words, ensuring justice in our dealings, avoiding extravagance, and staying away from harmful actions. And these aren't just presented as religious duties, but as the very foundations of a harmonious society. Host speaker. Like a blueprint for a better world, wouldn't she say? Recognizing that righteousness isn't just personal, it impacts the entire community. Expert speaker. Precisely. Our actions are interconnected, they ripple outwards. But it's also interesting how even as the surah provides this guidance, it acknowledges those who might demand tangible proof, those seeking miracles or outward signs. Host speaker, right? That whole sees a believing thing, that feels like a pretty common human experience, wanting that undeniable proof before completely embracing faith. Expert speaker. It really is. And the way Surah Al-Isra addresses it is fascinating. It doesn't shy away from those demands, but offers a powerful counterpoint, suggesting that true guidance comes not from just witnessing something extraordinary, but from reflection, from seeking deeper understanding. Host speaker. It's about being open, willing to learn and find wisdom, not just externally, but from within. Now that's a message that I think resonates even today.
It's really about diving deeper, isn't it? And that takes us right into Surah Al-Kahf. It's less about direct instructions and more about these really powerful stories.
Totally. Like the story of the companions of the cave.
Yeah.
You can't talk about this surah without mentioning them. It just stays with you.
It's captured imaginations for centuries. At its heart, it's about unwavering faith. These young men were facing persecution, maybe even death, all to protect their belief in God.
And it's not just about faith either, right? It's about resilience. Holding on to your beliefs even when it feels like the world's against you. That's got to resonate with people today, don't you think?
Definitely. It's a timeless message about strength through faith in the face of adversity. And then there's the miraculous element. Asleep in a cave for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Untouched by time.
Right. It's like suddenly the story takes this turn into the impossible. What do you think that means, that suspension of time?
On one hand, it's God's power, things we can barely grasp. But it also makes you think, maybe our human idea of time doesn't line up with some larger plan. These men woke up in a completely different world. And their return, it became a sign.
It was like their reemergence had this deeper meaning. God's promise affirmed. It pointed towards Judgment Day. There's a lot to unpack there.
Definitely. And that's the beauty. These stories have so many layers. Speaking of which, the parable of the two men and their gardens. I always think of that one in our world today.
Me too. It's easy to see it as a lesson about wealth, gratitude, but there's so much more, especially now when success is often tied to what you own.
It's about where we find our value, our security. The man boasting about his garden, he forgets it's a blessing from God, not something to show off. He misses the point.
We have to remember gratitude. Humility. Everything we have is a gift.
Yes. And that gratitude leads to contentment. The other man, he might not have as much, but he has something far more valuable.
Inner peace. Connection to something bigger. And that leads us to Moses and El-Kader, right? Seeking knowledge. The story always makes me think.
It's one of my favorites. It really challenges our understanding. Moses, a prophet, yet even he didn't have all the answers.
It's like Al-Qadar's actions seem so harsh at first. Damaging a boat, doing things that seem harmful. But there's a reason, right? It's revealed later.
Exactly. It would have been easy for Moses to say he knew better, but instead, he's humble, wants to learn. Even the most knowledgeable among us can learn from unexpected places.
And sometimes we don't see the full picture, and that's okay. Trusting in something larger, even when it doesn't make sense, that's powerful. It's like letting go of control and trusting the journey. It really is about trusting the journey, isn't it? And as we're reflecting on everything we've covered in Surah Al-Kahf and even going back to Al-Isras, what threads, what takeaways would you want our listener to hold on to from this deep dive?
One thing that just shines through in both these surahs is this idea of personal responsibility. It's in every story, every verse. The choices we make matter. They have real weight. It's empowering, but also, a little daunting.
We're not just along for the ride, are we? We have this ability to choose, and with that comes responsibility.
Yeah.
And it's not all on us as individuals either. Both chapters really emphasize building a just and compassionate society.
Absolutely. Our actions affect everyone. It's about being kind, just honoring our parents, speaking truthfully. These aren't just personal things. They build a better world for everyone.
It's about recognizing we're all in this together. And something else both surahs highlight is this idea of seeking knowledge, not just accepting things, but really digging deeper. Whether it's history or these incredible stories, that active engagement feels really important.
It's about being curious, open to seeing more than just the surface level. Like even Moses, a prophet, was willing to learn from Al-Qadir. That's a good lesson for all of us.
Learning never stops. There's always something new to discover, another layer of understanding to uncover. As we wrap up this deep dive into Juz 15, is there any final thought you'd like to leave with our listeners?
The thing that always gets me is how powerful these stories are. They stay with you, you see yourself in them, you wrestle with the same questions, and you find wisdom you can actually use in your life.
They guide us in a way that speaks to something deeper.
Exactly. So I hope our listeners will take some time with these stories, think about them, and see how those timeless messages can help them navigate today's world.
Finding those pieces of wisdom that link the past to our lives now. And on that note, we'll leave you to keep exploring, keep asking those questions. Until next time.